Good afternoon. As we continue to follow that breaking news in Westminster of an explosion in a townhome complex. The emergency call first went in at about 1:50 this afternoon. Westminster Fire says it was an explosion and then an active fire. This at the Stratus Townhomes complex, a big complex indeed, near 83rd and Sheridan. 8 units in the building are in that building that exploded. We can tell you that the crews are still actively putting out the fire. At this point, investigators say everyone who had been in the building has been accounted for. Very good news there. Want to get more on the latest information from Rick Salinger at the scene. Rick, you've had a chance to talk to several of the people who live right there.
Yes, Jen, this is an apartment complex right on Sheridan, and the explosion happened shortly before 2 o'clock, as you said. It almost completely destroyed this building that you can see behind me. And as you indicated, so far, everyone has been accounted for. But 4 other buildings were evacuated. This, mind you, in temperatures in single digits. People grabbed whatever they could and went outside, and they have been kept behind police lines now for a couple of hours. Exactly what caused this to happen is under investigation, but the speculation is very high that this may have involved some sort of a problem with the gas line. One of the people in this apartment complex that we spoke to is Jeffrey Garcia, who was here at the time.
This big explosion, sound booming explosion. It was different than a normal explosion. And my girlfriend looked out the window and had noticed that people were looking in the east direction, and she's like, something's going on out there. So she ran outside, and that's when she ran back inside, and she's like, the house behind us blew up. And I was like, what do you mean blew up? Houses just don't blow up. So I ran outside, I got my coat on and ran outside, and then when I proceeded to the house was already engulfed in flames. And at this time we didn't know if anybody was in there. A lot of people were outside the residence.
He told us that they had been switching out some of the utility equipment here and was wondering if that could have been a contributing factor. But we spoke to another resident who said, yes, they had switched out some of his, but they hadn't done it in the building where the explosion occurred. This investigation could likely take some time. Excel is on the scene, as well as fire departments from Arvada, Westminster, and most likely others. We'll have an update on this for you coming up at 5. Live in Westminster, Rick Salinger, covering Colorado First.
Rick, as you mentioned, Westminster Fire reporting everyone's accounted for, but that could still mean that those who are accounted for might have had some injuries. Anything about injuries possibly at this point?
So far, we have not heard of any injuries. There are ambulances at the scene, but they are stationary, although it's possible that some could have taken people away, but we haven't heard that that is the case.
All right, Rick Salinger on a very cold day. Thank you for the update, Rick. Certainly a large scene right there with firefighters, as mentioned. Westminster, Arvada, and Adams County all battling things. Northbound Sheridan is closed for the fire. Southbound has reopened. Crews say do your best to simply avoid the area. Of course, we'll have much more on this breaking story coming up on CBS 4 News at 5. You can catch that streaming right here on CBSDenver.com.